All right, everyone. The scrap will be starting soon. And while everybody's logging in, while we're getting ready with the guest, I wanted to talk about this, the V50. Lots of people have heard about it, the V50. I am very, very proud of this. It started out a few years ago as a journaling project that I did for myself, and then I shared it with the vigilantes. And over 70 vigilantes did the first trial run as we did it together. And then they helped edit and revise it and form it into what it is now, the V50 that you currently know, all about conquering yourself. And it really is, the V50 is about this right here. It is body, mind, soul, and goals. Body, mind, soul, and goals. You set goals for yourself each and every day. The system is built in where you can set up each day that you want to set up. And then you prove to yourself that you are who you say you are. It's the V50 commitment. I'm super proud of it. You do it for a 50-day commitment, a 50-day commitment of the V50. Body, mind, soul, and goals. And you prove to yourself that you have the ability to set goals and then crush those goals. Proving to yourself you are who you say you are. It's a great way to build confidence. It's a great way to be a more effective person. So I'm super proud of it. The body, mind, soul, and goals. It's all explained in the front of the book. And there's instructions all about conquering yourself. You can see this is a scoring page from deep in it as I traveled through the V50 at the end of last year. I'm now in my third iteration of doing the V50, and it will make you, it will form habits for you. It will make you a more effective person if you are willing to take on the commitment and complete the commitment. So I'm excited about it. I wanted to share it. The V50, Conquer Yourself. You can find it on firehousevigilance.com. Of course, the Vigilantes can find it in the Vigilante Swag Shop. V50, Conquer Yourself. Go get yourself one. Make the commitment. Make the commitment with your crew, your shift, your battalion. It is powerful. It will make you a more effective person, and I wanted to share it. So there you go, V50. Now, let's get ready for the scrap, starting soon.
My name's Dylan Clark. I live in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, and I work for the town of Weldon, North Carolina, as a fire engineer. Been a vigilante for almost a year. It is up to you. It is up to us, being that we don't get the amount of fires and all that that the big cities do. It's imperative for you to be fit. It's imperative for you to talk shop with people. It's imperative for you to train daily. I work here by myself, and it's hard a lot of days to train by myself. But I got in there and I drove today and did some work with that CBA mask and breathing techniques. And again, it's up to you.
Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 229. My guest tonight is Ben Fleagle. First, he was a Marine. Then, after that, he joined the fire service in 1990, started in Southern California, and then moved to Alaska. In 2003, Ben co-founded the Farthest North Fools, which is the oldest Fools chapter in the 49th state. In 2015, Ben was asked to join the Fools International, and in January of 2020, he became the fourth president of the Fools International and is currently continuing to serve in that capacity. He's married to his wife, Paula, of 29 years, and together they have 4 children. He has the certs, the papers, the recognition. He has the passion for leadership. He is an avid proponent of mentoring and leadership development. I am being honest when I say there is so much that I could keep saying about what this man has been up to for the last three plus decades. But let's get to it. It is my absolute pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 229. Welcome, my brother, Ben Fagel.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here. It really is.
I am really excited about tonight's episode. Is there anything I missed in the intro? Anything you would like to add or touch on?
No, other than, I've been at University Fire for 22 years now. And a shout out to those folks. They're wonderful to work with. And I would be remiss if I did not highlight them for just a brief moment.
Right on, right on. Audience, please get your questions primed and ready. Sam will be pulling them out of the audience tonight. We are going to have some fun. Now let's talk about those beautiful sponsors. The ones, I love them. The OG sponsor of the scrap, Key Hose. Check them out online at keyhose.com and follow them on Facebook. And of course, there is the Affordable Drill Tower. It is firefighter owned and operated. The only thing that you can't do on an affordable drill tower is live fire. Affordable Drill Tower. You can rappel, stretch hose lines, go through the stairs, go through the floor, do window bailouts, cut holes in the roof props, use the apartment balconies, pump to the FDC, or flow water from the sprinkler system. Call Steve or Dennis at 844-55-TOWER or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Firefighter safety and accountability starts with being able to quickly find and identify individual firefighters operating on the fireground. Identifier safety combines the best in photoluminescent materials for durable firefighter identification solutions that can glow for up to 20 hours with no switches, no batteries, which means you can rapidly identify firefighters by name, unit, or assignment, even under hot fire conditions. All specifically designed and tested for the rigors of the job. Be seen, on scene. Identifiersafety.com. And with that, we are ready for the scrap. So, my brother, I want to kick it off with, I am not here for me. We are here for we, and we are here for them. Talk to me about this phrase, what it means to you.
That has been my mantra for a very long time. Back when the internet was a brand new thing, I was fishing around. I don't know what I was doing, but I found that statement on the internet, and it was unknown is what it said as far as the author. And I just started using it, and it grew. Its heaviest use was when I started training recruits for the department. And of course, recruits go elsewhere and they take sayings with them, and it's grown. I get a lot of credit for it, but I did not come up with it. I just fell in love with it. And the thing about it is that it captures perfectly the whole struggle that we have in the fire service of remembering why we're here and why we should be training, and why you stay extra without complaining for the guy that didn't make it in, or why you make the coffee again even though you made it last time and you're wondering if anybody is going to pull their weight. All those things tie into supporting the team, setting yourself aside so that the team can function efficiently and be there for them, because they are the most important, regardless of who they are. When we are called, we go, and the team has to be intact for that to be. And for the team to be intact, we have to set our personal desires aside much of the time. So that is my mantra.
I love it, brother. I absolutely love it. And the thing is I've heard it over and over and over many times, and I never quite knew what, and I know you say you didn't write it and things like that, but I never knew what quite got its traction in the American fire service and got it spreading, because I've heard it many times.
I think it got spreading because several of the guys that worked at the academy with me, and some of the students at that time, became very influential in training in Anchorage Fire Department.
Okay.
And they in turn got to know Aaron Fields really well. And then he began pushing it, and it spread from there. I've had phone calls from all over the country asking permission to use it, and I can't tell people no, because I didn't make it up.
Right on. Right on. No, I love it, man. And that you never know what kind of influence something will have when you're passionate about anything. I'm going to check in with the audience and say we got people checking in from Florida. Let's go. From Daniel Grimes, Stephen McCaffrey. The Porterville Fire Department is ready. Let's go. Awesome to see you here, Bull. Yee, let's roll from Bradley Valiancourt. Brandon Work said, "Oh, Captain, my Captain. He may know you."
He does.
Dave Dymart says, checking in from Northern Michigan. Good evening. The mustache is fire from Nicholas Gwynn. Stephen, he said the Ville notebooks are out. Bring it. Rob Fisher says, one of the best, most humble leaders in the American Fire Service, the warrior poet, good friend and brother, a great leader. Love you, brother. So there we go. We got a lot coming after you, or a lot of hype here.
Yeah, my cheeks are getting hot.
TJRD said, I didn't come up with it. I just fell in love with it. That is a great line. So he's quoting. Absolutely. All right. There we go. We got tons. What's up, Ben? Jake from Lake Area Fools. Hi, Dad. Coming from Faith Fleagle. Hello, checking in from Alberta. All right. We got a ton, man. It's exciting. I'm excited. Warrior Poets. Let's get right to the meat of what in your own words, one of the most important things. But Warrior Poets, talk to me about the Fools.
Well, we started. The name Warrior Poets was first associated with us, as far as I know, at the 2008 Fools Convention in Seattle. Bobby Halton was the keynote speaker, and if you ever heard Bobby Halton speak, you know that you had to step back. You might have to put up a spit shield because he just got so intense, and he had the whole room rocking. And his whole point was that our focus on tradition and history and brotherhood made us the warrior poets. And I just I felt like that is really our role. Nowadays everybody is taking their chapter and creating a training company, and that's good. We need that, especially in light of David Rhodes' recent article about small conferences and supporting the little training actions. But the Fools, at least from the Alaskan point of view, it connects the nation of firefighters in a way that is deeper than the internet ever could. And it enables the smallest department member to have a connection with people from huge cities and to cross-culturally blend. And that's done through the Fools. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other ways, but
right? But absolutely,
we launched a rocket and just propelled it through the nation. I should say the founding Fools did, not myself, but it is certainly we, as in every chapter's duty, to push the spirit of the fire service. And I'm kind of an extremist. I believe in setting yourself aside to such an extent that I've been called by people that weren't so thrilled with my behavior. They kind of felt like it's the focus is on me, when in reality what I'm trying to do is capture people's attention,
right,
so that they can hear my message. And if I have to be charismatic to do that, I will, because I do believe we should be the last ones standing when our country is pulling itself apart over political issues and hate and race and religion and all the things that we're hearing about daily on social media that make us
divided.
Fear for our country's safety. I truly believe that we should be the last ones standing without giving our opinions, holding society together.
Oh, I like that. It's powerful.
I believe it.
No, I love it. The Fools, where they've been, where they're at, where they want to go, where you want them to go.
Well, it's been the subject of so much debate, but that connection, that spirit of the fire service is what drew me in. If you talk with the founding Fools, and there's been some great discussions with Walt and Bart and others on social media that you can hunt down. But their intent in creating the Fools, it was really just the joy of being together. They went to training events together. Some of them worked together. They were mentoring each other, and it just grew out of a backyard bar. and they never anticipated that it would become what it is. But the thing that has made it grow is that every firefighter in the nation is welcome. It's not particular to volunteers or just for paid guys. It's not particular to African American firefighters. It's not particular to white firefighters. It is open to all firefighters, male and female, even though it's fraternal. And while training has become the hyper focus in the past decade, it excelled at gathering all those different types together and making them all feel like valid firefighters.
Right.
And I point to Captain Dugan when I talk about this, because Captain Dugan is the one that said, all it matters is those two eyes in the mask. You're coming down the dark hallway with me and I can see those two eyes in the mask. That's what matters. I don't care if you're male, female, black or white, Native American, Indian, it doesn't matter. Two eyes in the mask, that's what matters. And that's the fool's attitude. And I believe in perpetuating that. And I think it's more important than ever. And while the training aspect of the fools and it just naturally flows together with the brotherhood, the love of the fire service and setting the example is far more important. And I think we have to not lose that. And the problem with it is we're talking about intangibles, things that are hard to grasp.
Right.
It just blossoms when someone dies. It explodes when someone comes down with cancer. And people suddenly go, wow, the brotherhood was intense at that moment. But when all things are good, when you're making a fat paycheck in a sleepy little town that's full of wealthy people and you hardly ever have a fire and nobody ever suffers, brotherhood is scarce. If you're down in the South Bronx in the 70s, in the war years, you understood what brotherhood was about. And how do we convey those things to people that have not yet been tested so they don't understand how important it is to set themselves aside,
Right.
and put their brother or sister first? And the fools generally have that experience, and that's what they should be transferring to the young generation. And I think it's critical. I really do.
No, that's beautifully well said. Especially the how do you transfer that which hasn't been experienced? It's such a great thing to contemplate. Do you see that? Man, there's so many directions to go. I'm sorry. I love it. I love the Fools, man. I really do. In fact, the Fools is one of my first exposures to people who were passionate about being firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
Just not just the training aspect, which has been there in all my experience with the Fools, but just it's okay to love this job. It's okay to be
Absolutely. That's
excited.
That's exactly it. Bart Simpson said it just the other night on that Leadership Perspectives podcast they did. I'm not going to apologize for enjoying this job and loving a red rig and enjoying the grinder wailing through the night. I love those things. I'll always love them.
Right on.
At 32 years of fire service, I shut my siren off as often as possible. But yeah.
No, I love it. And you heard it here. Fire trucks are supposed to be red.
That's right. That's right.
Just getting that on the record, getting it on the record. Okay, we can come back and please, anybody have any questions they want to ask about the Fools training, Warrior Poets, all of it. Just please post them. Sam is there to grab the questions. I want to move to leadership though, because it's one of my favorite topics to discuss. And I know that you are very, very, very passionate about leadership, mentoring. In fact, you've studied it quite a bit. So I don't know where I want to start. Broad topic. Let's say you've dedicated your passion to it. It is a quote you sent me was, it's one thing to study leadership, but quite another to apply it successfully. So I'll start there and let you just go whichever direction you want to go.
Okay. Well, the first thing on my mind is I think very rarely do poor leaders mean to be poor leaders. I think we all set out to do a good job. And I've known people that have in-depth knowledge about leadership, but they're unable to apply it. And it's because they're unable to separate their emotions from the skills that are developed to lead people. And I include myself in that.
Sure.
I have train wrecked so many efforts where I walked away just going, man, I blew that bad because I lost my temper, or I said the wrong thing, or I was not careful with my character. I think character, which you mentioned in the advertisement for tonight, character is huge, and you are born with honor, and only you can give your honor away. That cannot be taken from you. And I think leaders forget that as they get embroiled in the intensity of the job of leadership. It's
Right.
if you're really good as a firefighter, say you're the best guy on the tip, best guy on the truck, whatever, and that's why you get promoted, which we all know, regardless of what we'd like to think, we all know that that has a lot to do with how you get promoted.
Sure.
That does not a leader make. And the leadership over me when I was a young probie and in the Marine Corps, a lot of it was badly affected by the Vietnam era.
Right.
We were told you'll do it because I said you'll do it, or
Right.
just shut up and sit down. And those things left a void of leadership, mentoring, and learning. So if you encountered a good leader, it was because they were an exceptional person and trying very hard to be different. And it has taken, I think, most of my career to assemble all the lessons that I wanted to figure out where I wanted to go with leadership. And a lot of my years as a company officer, I was bumping around trying to find out what worked best.
Right.
And that caused a lot of hiccups and bumps and hurt feelings. There's one poor sap that I don't think he'll ever forgive me. But
go ahead. Sorry, I keep stepping on you. Go ahead.
But I think the key to success is being open to critique, allow people to say, hey, that wasn't right. I'll give a perfect example of that. I had scheduled this young man to be on the truck, and or no, he was supposed to be on the ambulance is where it was. And there was a problem, so I moved him to the truck. And then in the middle of the night, the tones went off and he wasn't getting up. I could tell he wasn't getting up because I was one of those officers that kind of slept half awake all the time. And
Right.
I still have that problem. So I knew he wasn't going out to the ambulance. And I came out in the hallway and I lit him up. And the poor kid grabbed his pants and took off for the ambulance, got in the box and disappeared. And I went back to bed. And then the next morning there was a gentle knock and the lieutenant explained to me that, Cap, you assigned him to the truck because of this issue and that issue, and you didn't want him on the ambulance. And I learned a long time ago, when you make mistakes, the fastest way to recover is to say, you're right. I need to own that and apologize for it. And at times you need to ask for forgiveness, to be quite honest. And if you do those things, your mistakes actually become a reservoir of respect. As long as you don't repeat them a lot, people begin to go, wow, he's different. He is willing to be human and admit his flaws. And I think I might trust him. And character and trust are the foundation of a good leader. Because in order to get people to follow us beyond what our rank demands, they have to trust you. And there's two different types of trust. There's your skill trust, that trust that's cognitive and people know, Cap can swing an axe. He knows the roof. We'll never get trapped on the roof with Cap with us. If that's the basis of the trust, that's a good thing. But that does not mean they'll trust you at the kitchen table. That's affective trust. And effective trust is not necessarily going to mean that you're good with tools. You may be that captain that everybody loves, and they'll tell you, they'll pour their heart out to you and turn their back on you and hand you the dagger because they know you won't use it. But if you could just step back and let us handle the hose line, that'd be great. Because maybe that person doesn't have the skills. So the best leader is someone who has skills enough to gain trust as far as he's not going to get us in a bad situation. He's going to guide us and we're going to come home safe. And also has developed the affective side of trust where they know they can trust him in and out of the firehouse, in and out of the fire, off duty, on duty. This guy will be my leader and my friend, or if not my friend, at least he will respect me and treat me with dignity no matter where we go. Therefore, I am with that person.
No, I like it. I want to dig in and ask, like, because you mentioned the two spectrums, the cognitive trust and the affective trust. Is there a point of, is there one without the, obviously if you have both, it's the rock star, it's the leader you want, right? But if there's one that's lacking, is there, I don't know quite the question I'm trying to ask. Can you be an effective, can you build effective trust if you're incompetent is what I'm basically asking.
I've seen some people do it. I think we've all known officers that everybody enjoyed being around and felt comfortable with. But we're not known for being
just not on the fire ground.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that can go hand in hand. But the more intense the battleground is, if you're downtown Chicago, that's not the best combination. That's not acceptable necessarily, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
It's going to affect your leadership. You've got to be competent. Competency is only going to build the trust. So I think it can work. I don't think it's a good thing.
Okay. No, I wanted to get some clarification because I love talking the theory, the concepts, and then trying to do the application, like you said, is sometimes the tough part of it. All right, we got tons of questions coming at you from the audience. Are you ready for your first one coming from the audience?
Sure.
Brandon Wark wants to know, I can't think of any other organization that is on the cutting edge of mentoring the emerging workforce. How do you do it? How do you maintain relevance to the emerging recruits?
The brothers and sisters I work with as officers in our department, what Brandon is referring to is he is an alumni of our department. Our department, like most departments in Fairbanks, operates with people that are 25 and younger. There certainly is no age limit, but that's just the crowd that comes here to work. And as soon as they get a little experience under their belt, and in our case, when they've completed their college degree, they move off and they go elsewhere. But we are fighting every fire in this town with very young people, and we're not just trapped on campus. And the volleys don't just stay in the hills. Everybody works together, and so any young person that gets on the job in this town is they're not just checking extinguisher tags; they are in the mix.
Right.
And so the brothers and sisters that I work with that stay, a lot of them are mentored and developed from those young people. And that's an ongoing process. And I think the key is that it just never stops. We're aware that the young people change in the way they learn. And we've been rapidly changing our approach to them so that we don't alienate them.
Right.
The department I work for is nothing like what it was many years ago. And, a perfect illustration of that is I encountered the wife of a firefighter we had back in the early 2000s who was an alcoholic. And in those days, you'd get up in the station in the morning and the fire station would be a little wrecked from the guys that came running through partying all night. And you'd try. I learned that didn't jive well with the Marine in me. I wanted order in the firehouse, but I learned that the people that had hired me were in the habit of protecting and hiding this stuff because they didn't want the powers that be to know it was taking place. And that was the wrong response. And this young lady, her husband is still an alcoholic, and she's been with him since those days. And her question for me, we were at a wellness firefighter mental health conference, and she's a because of her husband, she's involved in counseling. And we just bumped into each other, and she said, "Why did you guys make it worse?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, all the parties and the, gambling that went on off duty." And she described the old atmosphere.
Sure.
And I knew she was absolutely telling the truth. I wasn't the one. That's not my style. I wouldn't have done that, but I know that happened.
Right.
And I could do nothing but own it and apologize to her. But I was able to say, if your husband was with us now, we would protect his job while getting him help. Because now we know how to get him help. We know that we don't need to hide the alcoholism or whatever the problem might be.
Sure.
We've learned through hard knocks that we have to change that.
Right.
And along with that, because the younger generation has been taught differently, we can't go running through the firehouse creating havoc and calling them rough names. As a Marine, I am very familiar with how to harass people. And
Right.
it's taken a lot of effort to get that out of my system, because the first thing I want to do is be sarcastic. Then I want to knife hand them. And then I want to really harass them when they're not doing what I want them to do. And that is not valid to these people. They will just pick up and leave. They have a whole different mindset when it comes to whether they're going to be loyal to an organization. And if you're trying to lead the old way, the brutal way, and the way of do as I say, not as I do, you will fail with these young people, because they're not wired the way we were back then.
Right on. No. Jay Jorgen wants to know, working in cold climates, do you run wet pumps and recirculate water, or do you keep them dry?
Some run them dry. University runs them wet, and we circulate. They idle all the time when they're outside, and there's a price to that. There's a lot of pump hours. And the way the manufacturers have learned to insulate our pumps, we have a heat box underneath. So if you look at one of our trucks, there's we just call it a heat box. It's a tin box down below that encapsulates the drains, the whole pump, and everything that hangs low. And usually the heaters are down there pushing the air up towards the pump itself. So they've gotten so good at doing what we've asked them to do on those rigs that we can practically boil water in our tank now if we're not careful. So that's how we do it.
No, that's awesome. Derek Ite says, yes, love the job. I mean, it's the best job in the world. How do you combat the negativity within the department by members that don't have the same heart? I'm sure you've never had this question before. But I would like to hear the answer nonetheless, and so would everybody else, I'm sure.
The negativity is never going to go away. And Galliano's been after me to write about resilience. And this has a lot to, this part of that question has a lot to do with why he wants me to write it. But it tears your gut out to come to work for 20 years and have the same people calling you a fool for believing in this stuff and loving your job so much. And a lot of it has to do with, am I going to outlast this person? Is this department where I want to invest and fight this fight? Because I'm going to have to fight it wherever I go, or I will have to change and become like them. And I don't intend to change. I will always put firefighters first so that I can build that team so that we can serve the people. So I'm not going to change that. So where do I want to auger in and fight that fight? And you surround yourself with people that have a like mind. And that's where the fools come in. That's why I became a fool. I was at the Fire Academy in Emmitsburg in 2002. And there's this guy, his name was Shad, and he was from South Metro Fools, or Charlotte Metro Fools. And he had a T-shirt on, with the Fools logo. And I said, "What Fools? What is that all about?" And in a way that said, wouldn't you like to know? And he said, "Well, why don't you go find out?" And he said it in such a way that I knew I wouldn't be disappointed if I did that. So I got into AOL or whatever that archaic first generation internet search engine was. And I found the the mission statement of the Fools. And I thought, that's my heart. That's me. And this is the friend that will help me get through that negativity. And I went back home and we started building a chapter. And in 2020, I went back to the National Fire Academy for the first time since then. And at that moment, I had just become the president. And I thought that was actually pretty cool.
No, that is, man. That is.
But to answer more specifically, and this might sound kind of 8-ball, I guess, but don't be offended. Give them another cheek. You want to hit this one? I'll give you this one too, because far be it from me to be offended by my brother if I don't have to be. I understand that you just don't have the same values as I do, and give them the dagger if they're going to stick it in your back, particularly if you like the guy. Just be like, I love this department. I love working with you guys, and I'm sorry you and I can't see it eye to eye. They will stick that dagger in your back if they get a chance, if you've chosen the wrong person. But my point is, you have to live it if you expect people to believe in it. And we're talking about intangible things, brotherhood and sisterhood. The whole fraternal process is false unless we live it. And I've always said that it's really easy to slap a Fool's shirt on and go to the Fool's night out and have a bunch of beers and wear your leather helmet. Anybody can do that. Being a fool on the job, when your supervisor is tearing your trousers apart because your team failed for whatever reason, that's the time to be a fool. That's the time to step up and defend your people and take it in the shorts on their behalf. That's when you have to go back to them and find a way to tell them that they messed up without making them feel belittled, but building them up at the same time. To be that person, you have to study leadership. You have to be an intentional leader. And I think that's how you survive, is you come in every day with an intentional method of how you're going to maneuver through this department that does not respect what you believe.
I gotta make notes and I gotta timestamp, so please bear with me. There's too many solid timestamps. Live it if you ever expect them to believe it. I love that, man. I absolutely love that. Stephen McCaffrey asked, the glue of our forefathers' fire service was the social belonging, hanging out, dances, socials, etc. What this generation craves, what this generation's fire service is a little deficient in these days. How have you been able to bring that back? Or, basically, what's your thoughts on bringing it back?
Well, the chapter that I belong to, the chapter I helped found, we were gifted with some party animals, and they were very good at drawing people together. I'm not a party guy. I'm not a heavy drinker. It's hilarious that I'm the president of the Fools because this group of people have taken me into places that I normally wouldn't go, just because I'm more likely to pick up a book and go sit in a comfortable chair than I am to go chasing a bagpipe down a hotel hallway at 3 a.m. with a security guard running behind me. But I find myself in these situations. And the Fools are the first to admit that at times the reputation has gotten in the wrong direction, that we're just a drinking group. Sure. That's not the truth. The point of it is to gather people together and dare to stand out a little bit, be proud of your logo, and not to be afraid to say, I do love this job, and draw those young people in to tell them about the job. Beer is involved because it helps people relax that otherwise won't step forward, but it shouldn't always have to be there.
Sure.
And the founding Fools are going to be the first to say that. Creating events where these things can happen. If you have a local conference, a local training event, strive to always have a brotherhood event afterwards. And it doesn't need to be a time of getting so drunk that you can't see on your way out the door. That's not the point of it. The point of it is you make a stack of fire helmets and you gawk and awe and geek out over somebody's paint job on their helmet, and you listen to what people have to say. I think the key for leadership among the chapters, or even if you're not a fool and you're just involved in these kind of events, is to draw people in and listen to everyone that comes if you can. Someone should be devoted to just circulating through the event. And say your event's cutting roofs, and you got 5 roofs and 100 guys there. One person should be dedicated to making sure that everybody gets a turn, everybody is learning, everybody is recognized. I see you. Oh, I like the logo on your shirt. Where do you work? Oh, wow. Next time I go through there, I'll have to check that department out. It's so important to let people know that they have been seen and that you respect them. And that's what the founders did to me.
Right on.
I was just a guy from Fairbanks, Alaska. It took me 18 hours to reach the convention. And I'm sitting on a curb with Mike Dugan, and he is sharing his heart with me. And I didn't think he realized who I was. I said, you don't know me like you think you do. You've had a little too much. And he goes, no, I know exactly who you are. You came all the way from Alaska to sit here with me. And simple moments like that will draw people in. It authenticates them. It lets them know that your service is important to me, and you'll have them. They will come.
Scott Hoke said the fools are kind of like the Masonic Lodge for the fire service, is how I'm hearing it. He's saying that from I don't want to say, but just not knowing. So I'm giving you a chance to explain, like in your own words, explain them in an elevator pitch to anybody who doesn't know what the fools are. I think most everybody in here does, but go ahead.
I just got a low battery warning, so I'm going to hook that up while I talk.
Go for it.
So we are exactly that. I think a lot of unions have filled that role in the past, but I'm sure this sounds hilarious, me rattling around.
It's a scrap. You're good, brother. This is how we do it.
But the fools have taken, in the modern world where the firehouse with the barn lit up and the party going on with the whole township there, those things are fading away, and the fools have stepped up and taken that role on.
Right on.
And we do have some rituals, and we do honor people among us that we can point to and say, this is the kind of character I'm talking about that you should develop in yourself. This is what we view as the American firefighter, and the characteristics we value. Captain Dugan is like that. Mike Stallings, Mike Gilbert, the founding fools are the most humble people I've ever met, and almost all of them are 6'5", I think. I'm gonna plug this in.
You got it, brother. And there's no doubt when it comes to Mike Dugan. I will say, while you're plugging in, one of my greatest evenings I've ever spent was at a restaurant, sitting at the end of a table with Mike Dugan while he told stories, and all of us were gathered around in awe. And it wasn't a look at me session or anything like that. He was literally just if you were there, it was magical. It was amazing. So yes, I love you just took me back there with your story of sitting on the curb. So still more questions coming at you. I like this one. John Velez Jr. wants to know you can go any direction you want. What's the biggest lesson you have learned in leadership during your career?
Ooh,
a nice soft toss.
I think that one of the toughest lessons I've learned is to create an environment. It's the duty of the team leader to create an environment where the subordinate can come in and go, what the hell? What were you doing? Why did you do that? I don't understand. I'm angry at you, or I'm angry at the department, or I'm angry at that guy over there, and just rant and not be afraid of you tearing them apart. And that takes courage, because they may critique your character, they may critique your courage, they might critique your honor. And um, and this happened to me, and because I realized it was happening, because I'd studied the idea of that type of environment, I let it happen. And the 4 days I was off duty, I I scoured my soul and thought, how am I failing this person? I didn't think I was doing it. What am I doing wrong? And when I came in the next tour, it was no big deal. It was, Chief, I'm sorry that conversation didn't go so well. I was mad about something totally different, and I apologize. And I'm like, no big deal. But I'm thinking, whoo, that was rough.
Right.
But if I had lashed out, and I'm not saying that we allow them to um, be disrespectful.
Right. That's what.
What I'm saying is that you allow them the voice that they need to get it out. And in the process, you might hear some magical answers to problems you're all dealing with, or you might hear a perspective you have not thought of before. And particularly in dealing with women firefighters, I learned from women in the fire service that sometimes what they would like is for you just to say, wow, I hear you, and that must have been really, really hard for you. I'm sorry that happened. What is it that I can do to fix this?
Yeah. And yeah.
No,
No,
that can apply to the guy that's about to retire, that everybody can't wait till he leaves because he's just so mad all the time. And it might just be that the change is overwhelming him and he can't think fast enough to feel comfortable anymore. And so you just take it, and your authority, your rank, your character, and the respect they have for you is why you should not feel afraid as they do that. Because when the dust settles, it'll be all right. They will follow you that much more, I think, because you handled it well. You handled their wrath well. And that not every employee is going to ask that of you, but there are some employees that will. And I think you need to be able to do that for them.
no, I loved it. The vulnerability, the communication, and like you're talking about psychological safety, which I know you did a whole study on that. The EFO, which I read I haven't read the entire document. I won't lie to you, but the takeaways and the end, yes, especially when it comes to the females, and it's just those aren't things you think of when you think of the traditional fire service. The rub some dirt on it, screaming drill sergeant style, Vietnam era command and control style leadership that we've are growing out of. I don't know, or evolving away from. I don't know the right way to say it.
I think we need to learn to finesse it more. There is still a place, like I told you in my response to you, there's still a place for John Wayne and Gary Cooper. You need to develop that part of you that is courageous and willing to stand in the gap and say, not on my shift, this is not happening. But that, especially at the level that I'm at as a chief officer, those moments should be few and far between, and you have to protect your credibility. So you can't do it a lot. When you do it, everybody needs to stop and just go, I think I'll go to my dorm room because Chief's mad. And that's okay. It's okay for them to realize they pushed too far. That should be really rare. And if it happens on the fire ground, they need to respond immediately. So if you're screaming all the time, you're not cultivating that in them. Instead, you're cultivating in them the habit to ignore you because they're tired of hearing you yell.
The white noise. You're becoming the white noise.
Yeah. So I think that the greater rank you have, the more authority you have, the more calm and quiet you should be. And for a jarhead, that has not been easy. And I don't know, you would have to ask the people I work with. I don't know that I've achieved it yet. I try.
Right.
And sometimes I try too hard and I realize, oh, I should have lit up and corrected somebody just now. But I've worked so hard at taming the beast. Sometimes it's hard to reverse the process.
Yeah, the realization comes later that, oh, wait a second, I let that opportunity slip by.
Yeah,
I should have. Yes,
so yeah,
yes, absolutely. Now it's not even appropriate.
yeah,
No, I love it. I absolutely love that because this is something for me because I love leadership. I love reading about it, studying it, and that's the study of it, especially like you said. That's why I love the quote. The application is so tough because leadership is hard. Like
yes.
it is hard. It's grueling, and you can do everything that you've done and studied and still not see the fruits of your labor, but you still have to do it. And that's the thing that a lot of times they don't tell you in some of the leadership books is it's
Well,
hard.
that's just it. The IFSA manual says nothing about this.
Right.
It really doesn't. Group dynamics is not an answer to it, and business leadership is different from what we do.
Right.
If anything, we're more like the military, yet we're not military, and so you can't just slap all the military applications to our job either. It's unique in so many ways. So I do borrow from my passion for military history and my Marine Corps experience a lot, but that doesn't mean that I think it all fits.
Right.
And when I was writing in the years that I wrote on my blog, I would often bring up different Marine leaders or experiences that I thought were applicable to the firehouse. But if it doesn't apply in the job, then I don't bring it up.
Beautiful. Oh, here we go. Going through them. How would you go about, this comes from Scott Hoke again, how would you go about opening the eyes of someone that believes they're a leader when in reality, they're just a boss? How do you punch through that self-deception, man?
I'm pretty sure I nearly got killed trying to do that one time.
Excuse me.
None of the things we're talking about happen quickly.
Mm.
The things we're talking about take time. And for you to successfully achieve what you're trying to do, you have to live it. You have to be consistent and soft-spoken until the time is right to raise your voice. In other words, you need to cultivate in the person you're struggling with at least a respect that you know how to do your job and that you know how to follow orders. And then you might open a window and be able to say, look, boss, I respect your years in the fire service. I respect your knowledge, and you've been on a lot more jobs than me. But things aren't the way they used to be. And you can start the conversation from there. And you might have your ass handed to you, but don't take offense. I think I had an interaction with one of my battalion chiefs as a captain, and I still never felt like he understood me, but I began to understand him so well. I saw that his anger came from the rapid change that was taking place over the past decade, and he just couldn't be patient with it. And he loved our department so much, and he loved the fire service so much. At times he just couldn't bear to see the young people, me and others, making changes to what he loved so much. So once I began to understand that, I began to get more patient with him, and that was really the key. And in the end, I think we parted when he retired as good friends, and I still enjoy seeing him come in the firehouse, and I miss him actually. He was difficult to work for at times, but it's because he loved the job so much.
Right.
He'd been a firefighter much longer than me, and since I became a firefighter in the 90s, 30 years, things have drastically changed. The rules have changed. How people obey you has changed. You just can't do it the same way anymore. So these people that are stuck in boss world instead of in leader world haven't educated themselves about those changes. And you have to take a little risk to educate them. And you may get burnt a couple times, but your consistency, your knowledge of the job that you're being asked to do, your willingness to protect their reputation and obey the rules when it's appropriate, and there you should, when you object to their leadership, it should be at the right time, and only you're going to know the right time.
Right. No, Rob Fisher said, sadly, it takes time and developing a relationship with the boss so you can be heard. Don't ruin the opportunity. Don't push too hard too quick.
Absolutely. And I did that a couple times.
I think we all have it in various. Okay. Yeah. And, no, absolutely. Don't 10 pounds of pressure. I think something about 10 pounds of pressure at a certain percentage of the time, which I think is 100%.
Yeah.
Rob Fisher wants to know, question: if you could go back in time in your career, would you do anything differently? Speaking of Rob Fisher.
For a long time, being in a small town, for a long time, I was just like the young people working for me. There was this nagging itch. Maybe I should be in a bigger department. I want to be in the big department. And I started off in a large department. But for reasons I didn't plan, I just ended up in Alaska. And boy, my wife looked at me one day and she goes, "If anything happens to you, I'm not going back." And I thought, well, I guess we're here. And I made a life. And every once in a while, that would nag at me. So I would put myself in situations, the Fools being one, and other opportunities that would come along where I could measure my abilities against people that were completely out of our comfort zone in this town. And after a while, after enough interaction with those other groups, I began to realize I didn't need to worry. I'd made my mark, and the mark was recognized with firefighters from all over the country, and I could relax. So I don't think I regret it. But for a while, I was wondering if I did.
Right. Well, I love it. Great question, Rob. Chuck Hennis wants to know, along with people just being willing to up and leave, talking about your comment about the younger generations that, you treat them that way, they just leave. In your opinion, do you see an erosion in the brotherhood?
Yes, because there's a lot of social reasons in the United States that are making it difficult for the brotherhood to be as relaxed and nonchalant and take itself for granted like it used to. You just can't behave the way that we used to, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. It just pushes us to be a higher quality individual. But among the younger ones, especially the past 5 years, they're not as accustomed to being around each other and around people like us, older mentoring types, loud, bristly mustaches and growling up and down the hallway about someone left the trash in the bathroom. That's not something they're accustomed to unless they've been on a football team maybe, or hockey, or, so you have to cultivate an understanding of what brotherhood and sisterhood is. And especially with those who do not fit the stereotypical brother, you have to learn to finesse your words, not so that you can fool them, but so that you can help them perceive your meaning. There are women out there, for example, that they understand what it means to be called a fireman, and it's an honor to them. Right. If there's a guy that just comes in and punches the clock, I'm never going to refer to him as a fireman. He's just a firefighter that happens to get a paycheck for doing the job. But I will call a woman a fireman to honor them, because it's a title that means you get it. You know the job and you seek the job.
Right on.
But not every woman is going to take it that way.
Right.
And learning to finesse those things so that you don't alienate the people that you're trying to draw in is important. And I do think it's harder for the younger generation to understand self-sacrifice. We got to remember that the older members of the crowd that we hang with, we were raised by World War II and Vietnam veterans, and they understood it. They grew up in a world of fraternity and brotherhood. And I'm not saying they were all that way, but many of those in the fire service understood that, and they understood helping each other out. I think the farther west you go, the more advanced and away from the old world society gets, the more brotherhood erodes, because you don't need it. Life is too good. If you got a good paycheck, if you've got a great job, and for the younger generation, if you can get away and go camping in your Subaru and do some snowboarding and then climb a hill and then have a really good meal afterwards, that's the good life.
Yeah.
There might be brotherhood in that. There might be fraternity in that if you're doing it with firefighters all the time. I know a lot of young people that are that way, but they're not going to run around wearing a fire jacket and buying a leather helmet. That's not their way. And I think the worst thing we can do is get mad at them for that. I think the best thing we can do is try to find common ground and help them understand us.
I love it.
A little bit.
I want to ask you this one more before I know you're on the clock. But I want to ask you this one more because it's been asked multiple times by different people. But basically, it's what do you do if you're in a Fools chapter? And let me find it here. Let me get the wording. One of the wordings right. When they feel like they're stalling out, or that they've plateaued, memberships, no new members, and the regular members aren't showing up as much. Advice from the president.
Every chapter goes through that, and if it hasn't, it will. Before I became the president, Richie Stack brought me in to be the secretary, and I came in with Chris Bednarek, and the two of us just became the Bobsey twins right off the bat. We are instant friends, and we work so well together. And what we rapidly learned was that we were seeing a pattern in the history of the chapters. And the people that start the chapter are highly motivated. They're usually type A. They have a hard time focusing sometimes. Quite often, they're not skilled at running an organization. So they want to have a dynamic chapter. They attract people, the guy that's really smart and can be techie and do the website thing, and the guy that can be the logistics guy. And you get all those people together and you form your team. And where the mistake occurs is as those people go, hey, boss, we just had a baby and I got to devote more time to my family. You just haven't cultivated a replacement for that person. And it's hard, especially in small towns or in chapters that are regional,
Sure.
such as mine. Our chapter contains 13 or so different fire departments, and we're spread out over a large area. So it becomes very difficult to replace that vital person on the e-board. Another thing I noticed was just a lack of know-how. We may be good at pulling hose, but that doesn't mean we know how to run an organization that's fraternally organized. And so you see a lot of mistakes taking place. For example, a chapter that wants to be famous for training, and it does happen. The chapters form not because of brotherhood, but because they need a vehicle to be famous teachers, and that's what they want to do. And more power to them. Everybody, that's a cherished goal to be featured at Fire Engineering FDIC. But that's not what a chapter is designed to facilitate. So you have a resources problem and insurance and all those things. Where do you get the money for that? And
Sure.
Jim McCormick sat down with me one time because I was sent by the board to discuss with him training venues in conjunction with his organization, which was his initial idea. And I knew him from my writing, and I'd been privileged to meet him and work with him for a short bit. So I was sent over there to hash it out. And he was the one that helped the board really to realize that we weren't set up to be a training company. He was, but we weren't. A fraternal organization excels at taking care of people and demonstrating that dedication to the job and the ceremony and the love of history and the traditions. And that's what the Fools are good at, is making people thankful that they're a firefighter and that they're among these people I love so much. There are guys, I'm a man of faith. I worship God, the Creator, and it's known by many fools. They know that I am a believer, and one of my best friends is not, and he's clearly been hurt by people that dragged a Bible around and whacked him over the head. And I've always been very cautious and loving towards him, not to jeopardize our friendship with that. And one time in his cups, he'd had a little bit much, and we were talking about a deep subject, and he grabbed me by the face and he goes, "You know how I feel about Christians, and you are a Christian man that I love." And that is what the Fools are all about. We can be so divided in our belief systems, and yet we will shed blood for each other.
Right on.
That is what brotherhood is about. And how could the young people know anything about that? We have to teach them. And how do you find ways? Well, you run your chapter well. It is a struggle to keep a chapter functioning well. You have to look for talent. Don't be afraid to get the young people involved and give them a purpose. If you see someone that's tech savvy, grab them. If you see someone that's good with money, grab them. If you see someone that's good teaching and drawing attention, use them and nurture the fraternity in them. And then you will have an e-board that can carry on for you, because I've been at this since 2003 when we started our chapter, and now I run the organization. And I tell you, if it wasn't for Dave Dabowski and Chris Bednarek and Dana Larkin and Bob Foss, there wouldn't be an e-board, because I'm exhausted much of the time. And those guys are a machine, and they are the team. I'm simply the front man. And that's what every president should be developing. We started my term as president 4 years ago off going, okay, who are we going to get to run this organization? One of your top priorities is to be looking for your replacement right now. And it's going to take time. So start looking. And here we are 4 years later. Bob has just retired from the e-board. And fortunately, Chris is more than capable of moving and taking that job. So we're able to keep going, but we're still looking for replacements. And I've drawn a line in the sand. And that's something a chapter president often struggles to do. This is their baby.
Right.
Their beloved chapter. But you draw a line in the sand, and I did it with my own chapter back in 2014. I said, I'm not going past this point. Someone needs to step up and own this.
Right. That's succession.
At times, that's where it falls apart, because your vision of what the chapter should be and what the other people envision the chapter being is not necessarily going to jive.
Right on.
And so it doesn't always make it. And I would rather have 10 quality chapters than 500 chapters that are all over the map and barely able to function.
Right on. Beautiful answer. So there you go. Absolutely, tons of good information there on the chapter specific questions. Amazing, like you said, plumbing the depths. 100%. All right, book or books. One of my favorite questions I love to ask, especially of readers of people who study leadership. Book or book that you think firefighters should be reading. And it doesn't have to be firefighter books. I always want to tell people it can be any book.
Understood. I got a mix here.
Okay.
For those who think life is hard, you need to read With the Old Breed by Eugene Sledge,
Sledge, yes.
and learn what suffering is really about.
No doubt.
I was taught the word in boot camp. I was taught the word fortitude, and I've never forgotten that word because it's very rarely used, but it means long suffering for a good cause, and firefighters do that. And so I think that's a fantastic book to read. Call Sign Chaos with Mattis, General Mattis. I really enjoyed that book. I haven't finished it yet because I read like 8-10 books at a time, and so it takes me a long time to read books.
Right on.
About Face by Colonel Hackworth.
Hackworth.
There's a man who loved the Army. It was his life, and Vietnam compromised the honor of the people he served with, and he called them out on it, and that was the end of his career. And I think firefighters find themselves in Colonel Hackworth. Same character, same mentality, and it's a really enjoyable read. And just like everybody else, when I was a young boy, I read Engine Company 82.
Heck yeah.
And I loved every minute of it. And I never got to meet Dennis Smith, but I would have been excited to do so. The Blackened Shield by Don Whitney, I think, is a fantastic book about the war years up in Portland, Maine. And it helped me understand, wow, technology isn't really that old, because I was wearing a SCBA mask doing overhaul, and I would get told to take my mask off, save your air. And at the end of that book, Don is dealing with that issue and talking about the change coming. So it's a good timepiece.
Right on.
And then something I didn't add in the list I sent you, but I feel strongly about, is Real Heat by Carol Chektovich.
Okay.
That's Chetkovitch. And I read that book while preparing my research paper for EFO. And it is about the way women were treated in those years. And I'm glad I read it because in interviewing all the women I interviewed, I found that that hasn't changed much in some places. And it's heartbreaking because, and I can say this strongly as the president of the Fools, because I know the founders. The founders are my friends. They're supportive of me. They've been mentors to me, and they respect women firefighters. And, you know, coming into a department, you see a lot of guys that you look at, weak little men that you think, what in the world is that person thinking coming into this job? Yet the only women that's acceptable is one that is like a marathon runner, exceptional woman that throws discus and, you know.
Right. Super athlete.
Yeah, those are the only ones we're going to praise. And that's a double standard that right from the start of their careers. And that's just one example of some of the things, but just the dignity of treating people as human beings.
Right.
It's so important. And that book really, really helped me learn what we are unfortunately capable of doing.
Wow. Okay. No.
Serious leader in this time frame needs to read that book.
Love it. And the last, Real Heat, Gender and Race in the Urban Fire Service by Carol Chetkovitch.
Very good. You're fast. That's good.
Sam posted it so I could read it. So makes me look smart.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorite parts, the favorite part of the scrap for me, is the 5 questions for firefighters. The 5 questions for firefighters version 3.2 is where we're currently at. It is the 3rd iteration of questions. There are no wrong answers, only your opinions. The points are arbitrary. They're passed out by me with the aid of the audience. So my question for you is, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters version 3.2?
Yes.
Here we go. Number 1, what is the skill that has carried you through your fire service career?
Well, that's easy. I can pull hose, but I have biffed it on the pavement more than times I can count. I'm good on the interior, but I have no idea what I'm doing. You can't see anything. I hate thermal imagers. I usually get lost. Um, the skill. I liked driving quite a bit, but I even got shut down for a month because I came too close to a signpost. But the skill that I think that's helped me survive in my career is the ability to be an authentic leader.
Authenticity.
I don't believe that you're born as a leader. I think you may have um, talents that you're born with, but if you don't develop the skills of leadership, you'll be charismatic for a while and then you'll fade. I believe you need to lead, especially nowadays where it's so critical. Leaders are not assumed to be God appointed. I think your skills need to be dialed in. And I started leading the moment they put um, bugles on my collar. I sat there and stared at the ceiling and hyperventilated, thinking, oh shit, now I have to really do this. And most departments don't have a training program for captains. So I started teaching myself immediately and absorbing any lesson I could. And I think that has gotten me where I'm at.
I love it, man. It says Rob Fisher said max points. Scott Hoke said maxest of all max points. John Velez said max points. Ben is truly an authentic leader. I can confirm. Jay Obbs gave unlimited points. That might be the first unlimited points I've seen, but I think you got max points on question number one. Yeah, Stoneface Fool says, Corley, I don't know why you're asking these. Rob Fisher and us have already decided max full points across the board. Dan Bender said, one of the best answers to question one. Man, you're getting some love there. Number two, question number two. It's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route and responding. Think of the scene from Backdraft where he slaps that cassette tape into the deck. What song are you playing en route?
Well, diesels are slow out of the gate, so it's got to be Sweet Emotion because it takes time to start rolling. Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith.
I was going to say, is that our first Aerosmith? Okay, can confirm. First Aerosmith. Okay, there you go. Sweet Emotion. There is a playlist of all the answers. I'll have to send the link is up and pinned in the Firehouse Vigilance discussion. I need to pin it to the page, but regardless, there is a Spotify playlist with all of them for those who want to know. And absolutely max points. Aerosmith, Steven Tyler, crooning. I like it. Number three. What is your favorite fire service tradition? I love this question coming at the President of the Fools, by the way.
I think I used to be enamored with the uniform, the helmets, the bagpipes. That they used to be the thing for me, but my favorite fire service tradition is how we honor each other. I've only been able to do it once and it was because a friend helped me. I was able to pay for a ticket in short notice and fly down all the way to Florida for a funeral and step into the parade. And I can't express how important it is for an Alaskan to be able to say, I'm aware that you went down. I'm aware that you fell. And I want to honor you. And from Alaska on 9/11, that was hard. Not as hard as the people that went through it by any means, but to be so far away and be absolutely unable to demonstrate and link up and share your pain with those who are suffering. And I believe that's what we are to do. When Chief Croker says we are privileged to do the work of God himself, meaning saving lives, he could easily have said and sacrificing ourselves for each other. When we lay down our time, our money, and our effort to honor each other, I think that is absolutely my favorite tradition, even though I've only been able to do that on a national basis once.
Okay. I don't think there's any question on the max points. Dude, absolutely, man. The epitome of we, not me. No, 100%. Absolutely crush that answer. I don't even see. Yeah, we actually got 5 stars coming from Stender. So many maxes. No better answer. Yeah, absolutely. This is real AF. Max points, 6 exclamation points. Yeah. Man, okay. I can't even knock that. Number 4, on the clock. We had to put this one on the clock because it can go on and on and on with the honorable mentions and everything else. So you get 4. It's who are the 4 people you would put on your Mount Rushmore of the fire service, and go.
Colonel Charles Dockery would be the first one. His call sign was Buzzard Bait, and he was the scariest Marine I've ever met. And he saved my butt more than once. And he would look at you, and you could just feel your spine crinkle because that guy went to Vietnam at 16 and ended his career as a test pilot for the Marine Corps. And,
Wow.
he was hard as nails. And he believed in tradition and honor and the things the Marine Corps believed in. And that's where I saw the living role model of how to.
I love Buzzard Bait. You got 18 seconds.
Right. Okay, good. Gotta go. My dad, Will Fleagle.
Love
he
it.
was not in the fire service, but he taught me to be the man that I am. Phil Rounds was a battalion chief who died of cancer, and I really respected the lessons he taught me. And Captain Mike Dugan for the words he has said and the respect he shows the smallest firefighters in the world.
I'll give it on the at 67 seconds or so. I'll give it to you.
Anybody who knows me knows I can't do that. There's just
We had to put the clock because and again, every one of them, they're your Mount Rushmore and they deserve more than 15 seconds apiece on average. So absolutely, it's not a fair question. Absolutely love it. Buzzard Bait. I love the fact that he said, Dad, Rounds, and of course, one of the tallest people in the fire service, one of the biggest, largest hearts in the fire service, Captain Mike Dugan. Absolutely love it. Max points, easy for me. I don't even have to see the rest. And that's what Rob Fisher says. This is why he's the warrior poet. He's a storyteller. No, absolutely. Max points, 4 for 4, which takes us to the question of questions. There is heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on the VES?
on the nozzle.
Taking the tip.
I do enjoy attacking fire, but the reasoning behind it is, I drank the Kool-Aid. I have tried to learn as much as possible about the fire service and the way of doing it best, and I discounted the Fairbanks attitude. Just get between the fire and what you want to save with 2 or 3 guys and knock the crap out of it. And in 32 years, I've come back around full circle. And I believe that is the best way that Fairbanks firefighters can knock a fire out. It's just get in there and hit it hard and make everything better.
I absolutely love it, man. Get between you and what you want to say. There you go. That officially makes it 5 for 5, max points and that officially puts 229 scraps in the books. My brother, my president, Ben Fagel, thank you for sharing your evening with us. If people want to get a hold of you or reach out, any questions or follow-up, what's the best way to do so?
Real easy, president@foolsinternational.com.
It's as simple as it gets.
Yep, president@foolsinternational.com.
All one word or with the at, but yes. Man, I feel like we barely scratched the surface on things we could talk about. And I feel like we could go so much longer. Everybody, housekeeping, go to firehousevigilance.com. You can join the vigilantes there, $5 a month. You can sign up for a year. I'll be posting the link to the scrap after party where we will be having a blast discussing what we were talking about tonight. And that's vigilantes. Also the V50. I'm in my 2nd run of the V50, my 4th overall V challenge commitment. And if you want to be a part of that, it is a great way to build those strong habits, convince yourself, and build your confidence. I'm very proud of it. If you want to make a change, grab it. V50. All that being said, next week, Chief Craig Haig, followed by Robert Wynn. Man, It's 2024 is coming off, and it's a killer. Thank you, Chief Ben Fleagle, for being such a phenomenal guest.
I really enjoyed it. I'm deeply honored to be asked. And leather forever. Long live the Fleagles.
Perfect way to send it. That's it, man. Audience, thank you all for showing up. Thank you for the killer questions. Thank you for the killer comments. Thank you for helping me score the 5 questions. As always, man, you make the scrap magical. It would be nothing without you. So thank you for tuning in each week and making it awesome. I love you all. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tone stays silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.